Believe it or not, I used to be a fashion model, and that was about 9 years ago when I was doing New York Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week. And let me tell you, the way that I ate as a runway model is very, very different than the way that I eat today as an entrepreneur. I have different goals, and I also know a lot more information. Since being a model, I have gotten a degree in biomedical sciences, I've become a certified health coach, so my knowledge around nutrition and physiology is a lot deeper, but also my own intuition of what my body needs has obviously developed over this time. So I'm really excited to delve into the differences between what I ate as a runway model and what I eat today as an entrepreneur. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care. If you're new here, I talk about science, self-care, and all things wellness, and this video is something I have been a little bit nervous to make. I'm not really a fan of what I eat in a day videos because I don't think it's that relevant to compare what one person eats to another person, as our bodies are all so different, our microbiomes are different, we're genetically different. But then I thought maybe I can actually compare meals within my lifetime and how I've made small tweaks to my diet to actually better support my energy levels, my mood, my hormonal balance, all of these things that are super important. Obviously, as a professional runway model, my goals were very much focused on my physique. The job, especially 9 years ago, before a lot of body positivity and body neutrality movements, was pretty demanding, and there was still a big focus on being very, very small. Now, I am naturally pretty slim. My natural set point is slim, but still that was not enough. I'm actually gonna insert a photo here where my agents told me I needed to lose this thigh fat. Can we just see how skinny I already am? And I had to lose this thigh fat, which everyone knows is just not possible. So 9 years ago, to be a top level runway model, you definitely had to have a very slim physique. I originally went into runway modeling with a bit of a mindset of an athlete. I'm training and toning my body for my job. But honestly, after a very intense season, I realized that runway modeling was not in line with my personal values and goals. Not only did I not want to perpetuate very slender body types that were achieved in unbalanced ways, but I also realized that health is probably one of the most important things to me, thus this channel. And in many ways, the ways that I was living and eating, they were not healthy for me. So that's what I want to touch upon today. I also want to make a disclaimer to this video. If you are watching this video to understand how to slim down, I want to pause right now and say the most important thing is not how you look, but how you feel. And that's something I'm going to touch upon throughout this video, because today as an entrepreneur, I eat to fuel my mind, I eat for my mood, I eat for my energy, and the way that I eat is dictated by how I can be my best self in the world, how I can do my best work, and it's not dictated by any specific size, any specific measurement, or what I look like on the outside. Obviously, it's really nice to feel in shape and feel good about your body, but there is a point where if that is sacrificing the way that you actually honestly feel, then it's not worth it. And I'll touch upon all of this in the video, but I just wanted to get those disclaimers out of the way. So now let's get straight into it. As a runway model, my job required me to be very lean. I wanted to do this in the most healthy way possible, and that's definitely was my mentality at the time. In Paris, I lived in a model house where a lot of models were chain smoking, or they were eating only candy or one little can of soup, or kind of extreme things, and I always wanted to approach it in a balanced way. But now looking back, it's funny because I think a lot of the things that I thought were balanced and healthy really were not. I would say one determining factor of the way that I ate as a model was practice intermittent fasting, but quite extreme intermittent fasting. I had found this bodybuilder woman who looked amazing for her age, and she practiced intermittent fasting with a 20-hour fasting window and a 4-hour feeding window. This is a concept I was already familiar with through having a father who actually practiced quite extensive intermittent fasting for many years, only eating 1 meal a day. So he was intermittent fasting way before it was trendy. I also read a number of books on intermittent fasting, read a lot of studies on how intermittent fasting could actually slow down our biological age. So in many ways to me, intermittent fasting seemed like a legitimate, healthy way for me to experiment with fat burning and muscle building. Your hormones change drastically after you've been fasting for 16, 20 hours. Let me just say, intermittent fasting with about a 20-hour fasting window and a 4-hour feeding window definitely changed my body, but in many ways it also screwed it up. As a female, and also knowing my body now, I should never have been fasting this long. I think it really screwed with my hormones as well as my digestive system. I definitely want to save that for another video because there's so much to say here. But basically, if we walk through a typical day of eating for me, I would have black coffee during my fasting window, so that would be morning and lunchtime. So sometimes I would have 1, 2, 3 cups of black coffee, which now when I think about drinking that much coffee on an empty stomach, my body literally spasms. But that's what I did. And I think it's also important to mention that every morning I was running 4 miles. So on top of fasting, I was running 4 miles each morning. I didn't ever miss a day. There was not a recovery day. It was just 4 miles every morning. The schedule in modeling is so chaotic. You never know your schedule until the day before. And even the day of, your schedule is constantly changing. That having this ritual of waking up early, running 4 miles, having a nice cup of coffee, it was really grounding to have that every single day, because in modeling, there's no like work days and weekends. Every day is a work day and it all just blends together. So in many ways that was good, but also for my body, and if I think of the caloric ins and outs of what I was eating, I was definitely undernourished. Running 4 miles a day, drinking 3 cups of black coffee, then around maybe 4 p.m. I would have basically a succession of mini meals. I would start with a big plate of vegetables to try and get in those nutrients, and I would often eat a side of fish or healthy lean protein with that vegetable. At this point I was also a pescatarian, so I didn't eat any meat, so fish was definitely a staple in my diet. I would often follow up this plate of vegetables and fish with a nice bowl of oatmeal, and high protein oatmeal. I would put maybe 4 egg whites in there to really up my protein, and also it helps you feel satiated. So I would eat a big bowl of protein rich oatmeal with peanut butter and usually chocolate powder. Like, I am a chocoholic since birth. I am a true chocoholic since birth, so chocolate oatmeal is to this day still one of my favorite foods, but I would eat it more as like a desserty type thing after a lot of vegetables and protein. And then if I was still hungry, I would usually snack on some fruit and some nuts, or even have another bowl of oatmeal. But I would just make sure that every night I would eat till I was satiated. And you know, as I was doing this for longer periods, I became quite ravenous and was eating quite a lot in this feeding window, which is never great to basically go from eating nothing all day to eating till you are about to pop. But it was really important to me to not be hungry and to feel satiated. You know, the amounts would vary day to day how much I ate, but this is kind of a staple of what I would eat in the 4-hour feeding window. Again, I don't recommend doing this, especially if you are a female and a young female. I would not eat this way. You are going to mess up your body. So this way of eating was really focused on my physique. And if I think back to how I felt, I wasn't the sharpest throughout the day. You know, eating nothing and drinking off of coffee, doing this consistently, definitely I feel like I was a lesser version of myself. I just wasn't as energetic and positive, enthusiastic as I naturally am, and I feel like that's such a shame. If you are eating to look a certain way, but you're not actually feeding and nourishing who you are and your mind and your creativity, then that to me is a sign that you might have your priorities backwards. And that's definitely something I realized, and one of the reasons I stepped away from runway modeling, because I feel like I could not fit into the body standards and eat to just be myself. I do think that's different now, you know, almost 10 years later, we've come a long way in accepting different forms of different bodies. But let's flash forward to today. Let's dive into a day of how I eat now as an entrepreneur to fuel my mind, fuel my creativity, feel good, feel sharp. Mental clarity is so important to me, and also feel very strong in my body. I love to do Pilates and I want to feel like I can show up to those workouts with energy. Nowadays, this is how I eat. I start every single day with a morning walk. This is kind of my more balanced replacement to the morning run that I used to do as a model. Sometimes I'll just walk 1 mile, sometimes I'll walk 2. But getting that very gentle movement in first thing in the morning, the sunlight, everything, it is key to my mental health. I really swear that it is. And I feel like it also gives my body a moment to wake up before I'm starting to, you know, eat a bunch of things. And so I never, ever, ever skip my morning walk. I just went for my morning walk. I already had a matcha. Now I will have breakfast as well as another matcha. I love matcha. Afterwards, I'm gonna go into the city and meet my business partner. For me, I can probably drink 3 to 4 matchas in a day and sleep beautifully and feel really great. Because of the L-theanine in matcha, it really balances the effects of the caffeine. And I just love the way I feel when I drink matcha. It's also chock full of antioxidants and flavonoids. And it tastes so yummy. Enough rambling. I'm gonna make my chocolate collagen oats, which is something I make very regularly. Chocolate and collagen together actually make a complete protein. As I've mentioned, I am obsessed with oats. I love them so much. Nothing nourishes my soul as much as oatmeal. It also just makes my digestion feel really good. It regulates my bowel movements. So the best morning to me is a bowl of oatmeal, and chocolate collagen is often the combo I go with. So I know that I'm at least getting a hearty dose of protein in the morning, and it helps bring down the glycemic impact of the oats. I will also usually add vegetables to my oatmeal, whether it's doing kind of a carrot cake vibe with cinnamon or a cauliflower rice, you know, replacing part of the oats with cauliflower rice, or doing some zucchini is also really nice. I used to make one with beetroot. I am not picky, so to me this all sounds delicious. But if you are interested in exploring veggie oats, I would definitely look up some recipes and think about what kind of vegetables you actually like and would actually go well with oatmeal for you. I love the taste of basically everything, so don't trust my recipes too much in terms of taste, but you can trust my recipes in terms of health and balance and nutrition. So on this day, I was running around a lot. I met my business partner in the city. Right now I'm living in Amsterdam, had another matcha. We had a ginger shot where we were working, and like, I love working with my business partner because she's also such a health girl, and so we can literally have a meeting over ginger shots, and we're so happy to do that. I did not have a proper moment to sit down and eat a lunch, so I actually went into the grocery store and bought grocery store sushi. Here, the grocery store sushi at Albert Heijn by Sushi Daily is actually pretty good quality and pretty nice, so I enjoyed that. But lunch is a funny meal for me. I feel like breakfast and dinner are always quite solid, big, and consistent. For me, lunch changes so much every single day, and it's very intuitive how I eat lunch. Sometimes if I'm very hungry, I eat a very big lunch. Sometimes I'm more snacking and grazing throughout the day. But a trend that I have noticed is that I like to eat simple, calorically dense things for lunch that are not too large in volume and not too carby. So eating nuts and dark chocolate with no added sugar are things that I will often eat around lunchtime because it doesn't weigh me down. So I got myself some nuts at the grocery store. That's how I typically eat lunch. Every day is different, intuitively led, generally going for higher caloric density so that I don't have to have too much in my stomach. On this day, I went to yoga. I am late to yoga. And had a little pre-yoga snack. I really love working out after work and before dinner because my body is still fueled from the things that I've eaten during the day, but I'm not too full, and it's a really nice mental transition from a work day to a more relaxing evening. I used to do a lot of intense exercise on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. Sometimes I will still experiment with this, but I've generally found that I can perform best in an exercise class if I haven't been fasting all night long. This video is a little bit all over the place, but I'm just trying to very genuinely describe my day. But I talked about fasting with the runway model era. I still practice, I guess you could say, intermittent fasting in a very subtle way. So I always try to have a 12-hour window between when I ate dinner and when I eat breakfast. So if I stopped eating at 8 p.m. the night before, then I won't eat anything before 8 a.m. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule, but it's generally how I try to live at the very least. My ideal fasting window is actually 14 hours. So if I stop eating at 8 a.m., I will eat breakfast at 10 a.m. To me, that is the perfect balance for my body, giving my digestive system a rest, but also not going too long without eating because, as I've mentioned, that kind of screwed up my hormones in the past. You know, as a runway model, I was so lean and I was fasting so much that I did not have periods. Today, I have really beautiful regular periods, and a big part of that for my body is eating regularly. I really want to make a point here of saying that female bodies are physiologically very different than male bodies, and we have different hormonal cycles, we have different needs. You know, 9 years ago when I was researching health and nutrition, all the studies I was reading were performed on males, and the people I looked up to, whether it be my father or someone that I followed online, they were also all males. So the things that were really working to help males tone up and feel their best were the things that I thought would help me feel my best, but actually, in retrospect, a lot of those things were harming me. As someone who's a lot more in tune with my hormones now, I can tell you that for me, eating regularly is important, but also eating enough carbohydrates. And that is something that was really demonized in the literature I was reading 9 years ago, when now I realize that starting my day with a healthy bowl of low glycemic steel-cut oats is such an important part of balancing my hormones. My body needs carbohydrates to know that it's well fed, to live off of. My brain functions better with carbohydrates. And believe me, I have experimented with every type of diet. Again, this is not me telling you how you should eat or anyone else should eat, but I want to compare to how I used to eat, which was largely derived from research based on males. And today I eat in a way that is much more intuitive to what I know makes me feel good. And sometimes I even eat things that maybe objectively are not that healthy, but I know that they actually do such good for my body. So my camera just ran out of battery and I don't quite remember what I was saying. Enough of a tangent. Okay, moving on to dinner. So after yoga, I had this very lazy bowl. This was really like a refrigerator dump bowl. I had a bunch of old vegetables and some mung bean noodles and some chicken breast and smothered it all with tahini and some flax seeds. And I thought about making something more beautiful or fancy, eating something a little more special, but I just wanted to be very real with what I eat. And so this is a classic example of a dinner that took me 15 minutes to throw together. And it's very lazy, but it's still healthy. It's whole foods. I think that is something that has always been important to me 10 years ago or today, that I'm eating whole unprocessed foods as much as possible. So this is a very realistic day in my life. And then after dinner, I tried to show this in the most appetizing way possible, but again, this is real, raw, and lazy. Well, it's not raw, it's cooked, but I basically love to cook berries, whether it's raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and so they become this warm compote type thing. And then I will melt chocolate into it. I'm telling you guys, I eat so much chocolate. It's a problem, but not really, because it makes me so happy. Yeah, I eat a lot of chocolate. But basically this was just warmed berries mixed with chocolate. If you want to make kind of a berry cobbler, you can also make this in the oven with crumbled oats on top. Oh, it's so yummy. I love warm berries. That was, again, a lazy, healthy dessert. I do eat some form of dessert every night just to end the savory off on a little bit of a sweet note. That's really my typical day of eating today as an entrepreneur. Obviously, every day is different, but my meal choices are led by my cravings as well as my normal natural hunger cues, which are now much more in check. This is me today saying that it feels so much better to eat in a way that is guided by how I feel, how much energy I have, my mental clarity, rather than guided by my physique. I really believe that if you are eating in a balanced way and you've addressed any underlying metabolic conditions, then your body will find its natural set point, and that is beautiful in and of itself, that it's your body in its happy state and it doesn't need to change. That's my personal philosophy at this point in my life. Obviously, the way that you eat changes so much over the course of your lifetime. I'd love to know how you eat in this day and age. Do you follow a specific diet? Do you have a certain health philosophy? Do you eat very differently today than you used to in the past? Let's share. I honestly love reading all of your comments, and I always reply. I try to reply to every single comment because it's so nice to just share experiences around health, not necessarily in a prescriptive way that anyone has to do what you're doing, but just in a way that other people can feel seen or learn from something that you may have experienced. That's my goal with this channel and with the Science of Self-Care community. So I hope you found this video interesting and helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye bye!